And I think people are realizing that life is really simple and you need to look after the fundamentals. And I think if you can provide a platform or product that does that, that's ultimately, you're onto a winner.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. Today, we're speaking with the founder of one of the great fitness chain success stories of the 90s and his daughter, a personal trainer and social media influencer who created a global digital fitness brand from scratch during lockdown. He was the first to build and sell a chain of health and rackets clubs within the UK, growing the business to 38 clubs with over 200,000 members. She created an all-inclusive virtual fitness service during the pandemic that focused on body, mental health, nutrition, community, and sustainability. Her daily live stream workouts engaged thousands of members across 40 countries. This father-daughter duo are at the forefront of an evolving industry. So how have traditional fitness models come full circle? What's the power behind personalization and community? And why is fitness no longer just about fitness? Well, you're about to find out. So please welcome Mr. Patrick Henchoz, founder of Asporta Health and Fitness Clubs, and Talilla, founder of Club 5, to the Escape Your Limits podcast.
Again, it comes down to failure, and I did, and I still do sometimes have that fear of failure. But I think what Dad's taught me is that you just got to go for it. And, whether it's blagging your way through it or, just pivoting constantly, that's what I always feel we're doing, constantly being reactive, sometimes too reactive and not proactive enough, but we're putting in the foundations to stop that. But constantly pivoting and seeing the potential. And I think that's the thing, there hasn't been too much to almost overcome, because when you view it in that way, that there's no barriers, you're just going to keep plowing through. I think that really helps. And I was scared of failure. And I think that Dad's changed that attitude because it's so needed and so important. And, when I haven't hit certain targets or when I've been disappointed in the way I've approached something, I've just had to learn from it. And that's been so incredible. And I've loved every second of learning on that journey and will continue to do so.
Thank you for supporting the Escape Your Limits podcast. If you're thinking about creating a unique and engaging fitness space to take your fitness to the next level, then we have you covered. Escape Fitness design and manufacture some of the most innovative, attractive, and durable functional training and free weight equipment used by many of the best trainers and fitness brands across the globe. As a valued listener, we are offering you a 10% discount off many of the products on our website. You can check out the full range by going to escapefitness.com and use the code DUMBBELL. That's escapefitness.com using the code DUMBBELL. That's it from me. Please enjoy the rest of this interview. So, Patrick and Talilla, welcome to the Escape Fitness podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
I thought I would start because I've got a family business and a very young daughter. She's 10 years old, and I thought I would start. What's the dynamic like between you guys? You've obviously, you must have followed your father's footsteps in the industry. What's that been like?
It's no easy questions to start off with, huh?
Yeah, it's been. I've moved home recently because of everything to do with lockdown, and this year itself has just been a tricky one. So I moved home, and I think at the start we were trying to find our flow, because obviously living back home again after a while is just a bit more difficult. There's different kind of challenges to face, but Dad has been since the very start so involved in every single part of Club 5 and the growth of it, which has been amazing. So it's been incredible, challenging, interesting, all of the kind of, it's been a journey, and I've loved it. It's been incredible. And I think Dad's been, an incremental part of our growth and of my ideas as well. So it's been wonderful.
She's been very generous to me. I think, it's just, it was a challenge. When your 28-year daughter comes home and you're thinking she's home for 3 weeks and it's 10 months later she's still here, you're going, hang on a minute, it wasn't part of the plan. But no, I think seeing her grow and see her, basically swivel from what she was doing previously to suddenly finding a new opportunity and growing it, it's just been brilliant to watch. And I've just tried to, without being too influential or forcing to support her. And I've had occasional on my wrist slap saying, Dad, this is my business, not yours, which is absolutely fine. That's absolutely right. I think we've managed to keep it pretty okay, which has been great. It's been fun. I mean, for me, it's been an absolute pleasure watching her grow and see what's happened with the business. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have seen that if it happened if she was somewhere else. So for me, it's been a brilliant experience.
I mean, he does the workout every single day as well.
Yeah.
I'm downstairs in the garage doing the workouts, and he's up there, and I can hear him through the roof. So giving it all these burpees. He's brilliant. He's so good.
I remember number 2.
Yeah.
You remember number 2?
Literally, I'm getting more and more knackered. I think I to get fitter, but actually, I'm not sure that's actually happening. But there we go. It's good. It's good fun.
Yeah.
What was it like when you guys were younger? Because obviously, from what I understood, you sold your business when Talilla was relatively young, and you went traveling. Were you, at a young age, were you guys sort of influenced by your business career, and was that something that you kind of, I guess, sort of shared with your children from a young age, or was this something that you started to talk about when you were a little bit older?
I think, my ex-wife was an international gymnast, and she worked in the industry as well. So Debbie was, we've both been in the fitness world, shall we say. And when we sold a Sporter, it was, what do we do next? And to be fair, it was Debbie's idea. Well, let's just take some time out, and that's why we went traveling. And we spent 27. Original plan was 12 months. We ended up doing 27 months. And when we came back, it was, what do I do next sort of thing? And there's been opportunities and everything else. But I suppose it's just always been part of the DNA. And we've tried to, sport and keeping fit and everything else. And I think it's just happened naturally. There was never any, this is the route you should go. It was very much the kids' choice of what direction they went in. And I think you followed your own in terms of what you did. So there was no sort of trying to direct at all. It's their journey.
I think we're lucky because I think we've had that opportunity to take part in lots of sport and keep active. And it's definitely a privilege to be taught that's important. And that's what I've carried throughout my whole life, regardless of being in the fitness industry at the start or not. I've always had that kind of embedded in my DNA, I think. And I'm really grateful for that. And even when we're traveling, we do sports days on the beach, just the 4 of us, long jump. And, we'd really utilize the environment. And that's what I think taught me the importance of having it as a holistic view rather than really intense sport and, pushing your body to the limits. It was more of a kind of wholesome, holistic view for your lifestyle, which is what's kind of led me where I am today.
Yeah. I think as well that when we left and went traveling, the kids were 5 and 7. So they'd used our first club. They used the Royal Berkshire Club a reasonable amount. So you could argue that was embedded in their DNA as part of that journey. But that said, there was no influence. I just think the route we took as a family, and Debbie had a very much holistic view towards her life and how she wanted to do things. So maybe the combination of that. I did a degree in sport at Loughborough, so
you were a good combo for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah, we were. Yeah. So that's.
I think about it with my daughter because we've got a younger son as well, similar age, and they're very competitive. And my daughter's already shown an interest in business, maybe because she's around her parents and a family. And I just wonder how to balance that. And I was actually, when I was looking, doing some research on you guys, I was reading your post just from yesterday, Talilla, about your expectations and how maybe in some cases that can be a little bit of a challenge for you, and particularly in relationships, how you've got a very high standard for yourself, and sometimes you're not open to receive help from other people. Do you think that's something to do with kind of how you've been brought up? And maybe this is a conversation for you guys.
Conversation. I love this stuff. A therapy session.
That's what it is.
No, absolutely. It's so interesting you said that, because that's something I've been working through at the moment. I mean, Dad's incredible at offering help. I'm not so great at accepting it. And I think that's because I have been taught the importance of being self-reliant, being independent, standing on my own 2 feet, going out there, getting it, which I think has helped me massively and got me to where I am today. And I wouldn't change that. But I do need to get better at accepting help and being able to receive it and know that my way is not always the right way, even though it seems like it at the time. So I think we've had conversations where we've had incredible meetings, brainstorms. We're very similar in terms of our big vision and the way we see things. We just go for it rather than, we almost kind of just don't ask permission. We would always ask for forgiveness afterwards instead and just go for it. And we've had conversations where it's been brilliant, and other times where I've been like, we need to have a bit more of a dad-daughter relationship, and it's not just work, because obviously during COVID as well, there's not a huge amount else to do apart from work crazy hours. So I'm working at home, living at home, everything's kind of all encompassing. So we're trying to separate that out a bit. And it's like a challenge of working through it every day. But I think we're getting the balance now, which is really good.
Yeah, I think we are. I think going back to your question about, how you influence your children, in some ways, when you're looking back, you wonder whether, if I kept a sport, I could have brought the children in to run the business and get involved and everything else. But actually, I'm really glad that I didn't have anything to pass on to them. I think some families who have that, that journey, shall we say, can cause its own challenge. What I found is that, I didn't have anything to pass on, therefore the children can take their own paths. But I think maybe as part of what I could offer was the journey that I went on and what I learned. And going back to what TJ was saying about, she's not always right, neither am I always right. And I think I have to be very careful that I don't have all the answers, which I think I've got, because I've done it before. And actually the world's very different to what it was when I was running a sporter. So it's that balance. And I think we have got to the point now where when we listen to each other perhaps a bit more than we did, which I think works better.
Yeah, I've got that with my father. We both look at things in a very different way. And a lot of time, like you say, we've got a very shared vision. It's sometimes, as me being, or previously being quite young, you want to make your own path. And I guess the art is sort of trying to sort of figure out, well, when is it best to kind of, take the wisdom of the situation, and when is it best to kind of, take your knowledge and kind of combine them, I suppose. Because I think when we combine those two, it's fantastic. It's just sometimes when you get to maybe a crossroads where it's, well, whose road do you take? Do you sort of, do you get those situations where you're not necessarily moving forward?
Yeah, I've had my journey, and I had a fantastic time with the sport. So I couldn't have asked for anything more than that. So my journey is very different now. I do, quite a lot of non-exec work and non-exec chairman work, etc. So my journey is done. This is very much about Talilla's journey and what she wants to achieve, and all I try to do now. And the world's very different. It's all tech. It's this stuff. This didn't exist. I didn't have a mobile phone until I was about 35 or whatever it was. So the world's very, very different. And I think one has to recognize that I can add value in the things and what I call general things about people, about what the values are and everything else. But in terms of technology and where the market's going and all that stuff, it's TJ's journey. It's for her to decide where she wants that to go, what it wants to look like.
But I do think that stuff is valuable, that a lot, because, so many people are popping up now, brands, companies, individuals doing this kind of work and offering this kind of, these live workouts. And the difference is, and I think this is why that is so important in this and has helped me so much in remembering and keep grounded in the process, is that our community is everything. And yes, technology is incredible. It can help, kind of build your platform and get you in front of the right people. But unless you're nurturing and looking after your community and the people and really, maintaining that trust and that loyalty, it's all pointless, really. And that's what I think we always talk about all the time. So regardless of how techie we both are, because I'm not naturally that techie either, my brother is. But actually, that's not what we're here for. We will find the tools for that, but the core brand and the offering is what we have a great time talking about. And that's what I think, how Dad adds so much value every single day, because that's what his model was built on. And that's how important it was back then, that every single member got that customer support experience, that, that touch time. The same for me. We're growing it every day, but I will not let it slip that I will not be able to talk to every single customer. That's my priority, to make sure they are heard and listened. And we ask for feedback all the time. It's like a, dialogue, a constant dialogue.
I think if I look back to when we launched the Sporter, I was lucky in the sense that the industry was very young. It was, whatever you did worked because there was no real competition. So it made it very easy. But I'd had a hotel background prior to that, and my father was a hotelier as well. So I brought hospitality, I suppose, into the business. And what I saw was gym is a gym, tennis court's a tennis court, whatever it might be, a dance studio is a dance studio. But actually what makes the club work is the glue, it's the core, and that was very much the food and beverage offering, and that core glue that brought the members together after their workouts was really important. And I think that's what made sport successful, because our membership attrition was very low, because members came there for more than just a game of tennis or a workout. They came to meet friends, with family, whatever it may be. And I think the industry has always struggled with retention. It's always struggled with what can they do beyond. And I think what Talilla's done with this is, and the challenge we always have about growth versus community, is how do you keep that community going? And if you see if we do a live workout, there'll be 650 comments on the live workout. People who come up with it during that time. So the connectivity that is there, I think she's really come up, really found something that makes a difference to just another gym or just a live workout, whatever it may be. And it's that balance now that we talk about growing the club and growing the membership while still keeping the community really, really strong. And that, I think that's a fantastic opportunity, but also a challenge.
Yeah, you've obviously, the world and the industry's changed a lot since your days at the Royal Berkshire, I guess quite a lot. But do you see any things, like you mentioned community, but are there any other things that you think are still very relevant today, just as they were previously, and they're almost like sort of business fundamentals for anyone that's trying to create a startup today?
It's the classic stuff, and it's about, customer comes first. And I think, in the good old days, you sort of, join members up and not worry about them too much. Now it's about trying to find the ways. And we try to do it with early days of technology, trying to find a way to getting the members to connect more with their fitness workout fund maybe. It was really challenging, and trying to keep, in touch with the members and get them involved. It was challenging. And we did the best we could with the tools we had. But fundamentally, this is about a customer business. And I don't care whether you're selling a meal, whether you're selling clothing, whether you're selling fitness, whatever it may be. It's about remembering the most important person in the room is the customer. And it's then how about do you deliver whatever you're doing to that customer best of your ability, and make yourself best in class. So those fundamentals never change. They never will change if you want to keep your customers happy. It's now about how does Talilla with Club 5 take that core value and use technology plus the personal stuff to create that. And I think there's more tools in their box in the sense than we had, because they have better ways of communicating and integrating with their members than we ever were able to do. Our challenge was always, how do you keep members up to date and what's going on? So, and I suppose also being a physical club, that members, getting them to use it more often was really important. It's now a different challenge with this online journey, shall we say.
So tell us about Club 5. Is it Club 5 or Club V? I know the V is the 5.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Club 5, yeah.
Club 5. So tell us a little bit about that, and what are you doing that sort of separates you from a lot of the other sort of online products that are out there at the moment?
Yeah, so I started back in the first lockdown, or maybe just before, doing live workouts online, just as a way to keep me sane, but also to give back to other people out there, because obviously everyone was stuck at home, not able to train. I thought I need to be able to do something to give back to these people. And at the time I was doing marketing consultancy, and I've been doing that for a few years. And so I was kind of in that transitional period where I wanted to carry that on, but I knew my real passion was in health and fitness, and I wanted to be able to explore that further. So I started doing these sessions. They picked up popularity. We had this Facebook group, because for me, ultimately, I wanted to form a community from the very start, to be able to connect with each other and support each other, especially those that are living alone at home, because that's obviously, really difficult to get through a time like this when you're alone. So this Facebook group was created. Anyone could join. Carried on doing these live workouts. I showed up every single day for, I don't know, months. Yeah. I mean, I was a burnout. I mean, I was doing HIIT sessions every day. I was just, powering through, but it was a purpose for me. When I saw it help people, I just couldn't stop. It was like this kind of addiction, was I need to be able to provide, more for them and help them in every way I can. And what Dad kind of mentioned about it, rather than it just being, a kind of another fitness class, for me, from the very start, I'd always been about a more kind of holistic view and how can I help them not only with their bodies, but support their mindset. And as you probably have seen, like, I do a lot of stuff around mindset. For me, that's crucial. So I was working with different professionals to help offer more to people in this group, again, free of charge, anyone could join. And it just kept picking up popularity, it did super well, and people kept talking about it and making friends in the community. And then come July, I then decided I wanted to make it something because I wanted to give more, and I physically couldn't with the other work I had. I just, had no hours left in the day. So I was like, right, I need to properly make a go of this. And it was a risk because, again, loads of people were doing it. There's, on where I was doing my live workouts, which was on Instagram, there were so many people doing live workouts. You tune in and there's, a live workout every 5 minutes, and there's so many people doing it. And you think, well, how am I going to break through the noise and people to see? And I think it's because I kept turning up. I did not let anyone down. When I said I was doing a session, I'd be there no matter what. And that instilled this trust and this loyalty. And suddenly this kind of community kept growing. And we launched Club 5, and it's built on these 5 pillars of health. So rather than it being a kind of fat burning quick fix, which is not what we're about, it's about the sustainability and these 5 pillars: the body, the mind, community, nutrition, and sustainability. And that is what I think makes us different, because I'm not looking at it as a quick fix or a way for people just to come on board, quickly lose some weight or see very quick aesthetic goals. This is like a lifestyle change. And this is something, our main ethos is about celebrating your body and what it can do rather than what it looks like. So that's always been what our members have understood. And then a lot of them have come in with difficult relationship with food and exercise, and then kind of transform their mindset around that and focusing on a different part of fitness, which is how you feel rather than what you look all the time. And I think that's not spoken about enough in the industry, a very aesthetically driven industry. And here we are today, 6 months later. It's very exciting.
I have to tell you the funny story is that I think it was a Sunday you launched it, wasn't it? A Sunday.
Oh,
and literally her finger was hovering over the button to press it to go live. And she just wouldn't do it. For about 2 hours, she just wouldn't do it. She was convinced herself it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And eventually, we finally managed to sort of get her finger on, press the button. And I think within 2 hours, she had 400 members. And she thought she'd have 400 members as a maximum. So it suddenly went like a rocket. And I think that was sort of the start of the journey. But it was so funny to...
And I mean, it wasn't pretty, because I built the website within like 2 days, super quick. I thought, well, I think we were coming out of the first lockdown, and I knew it had to be reactive at that point, because I knew gyms were opening again, and I knew my product was great and people could do it at the gym, and I wanted them to know that. So it had to launch on a certain date, but I hadn't thought about adding people in. That it was such a manual process, bear in mind, because I didn't have the technicalities. I hadn't had time to talk to a developer or anything. I made it myself. It was pretty basic. So me, my brother, his girlfriend, even dad, we were all adding people in. I mean, it then got to nearly 1,000 members. We were just trying to add people in manually. It was, it looks slick from the outside. Everything's happy. Everything's great. But inside I was thinking, oh my God, it was good. I loved that part.
It was great fun to watch, but it was like, trying to get her to actually press the button was so funny, because then it suddenly exploded. It was just brilliant to see. It was just great.
Yeah.
It's from what I understand then is you're charging, is it $19.99 a month? Is that correct for membership?
That recently, we started with a founding members price, because the people that had been part of my first group that had been there since day one, and I wanted to be able to give back to them and say, look, you guys have been here supporting for so long. So I gave them a founding membership. Then we launched our normal monthly price, and we've increased it recently as well, in line with our January challenge, which we've just launched, which has a lot more resources as well, and extra members of the team as well to deliver the session. So we're increasing our offering daily, and I'm always trying to do more. And I realize there's probably not enough time in my day again. And that again, I always want to offer more, and that's part of my approach. I will always try and be this perfectionist and offer more and more and more. So I'm now getting the resources around me to support that, which is really exciting, because I've previously been by myself, but we've got a great team now of trainers as well. So
I think as well, just in terms of that, with the launch of the challenge, which started on the 4th of January, something like 1,400 members are on the challenge.
Wow.
And that's about 75% of the membership or more are actually doing the challenge. And that just shows you the stickiness and also the community. And they've all set up their little communities as well within that. It's just amazing. I mean, that number of people taking part is extraordinary.
Yeah, the sub communities it's pretty amazing. So obviously the group is there itself, and then I kind of let them do their thing, and they've set up between them their own WhatsApp groups, whether it's like the early birds, they call themselves, who get up early to do the workouts, or the teachers. And there's different sub communities, which, you know, I haven't been part of. I'm not allowed to be part of them. I'm the uncool mum watching from the outside. But they're just growing their own communities, meeting up, you know, when they could on the weekends, having their own Zoom workouts where they do it. I mean, it's incredible. And it makes my heart just feel so full that they are looking after each other, because I'm worried I can't connect with them all the time. I can't reply to every single person, but they support each other. They're like, oh, I've got you on this. And, you know, they buddy up. We've got a book club. It's just gone a bit crazy, to be honest, but I love it so much. I just don't sleep because I just love it.
So Patrick, from a business perspective, like, you've been obviously very involved with the Sporter, successful sale. You've been involved in Gymbox, and a lot of these businesses you've had to spend, you know, $1 million plus in building some kind of bricks and mortar location, and probably, you know, opening with a couple of thousand members is pretty good. And if you look at a lot of gyms on the high street now, a lot of the low costs there, you know, some of them are in, you know, lower than the sort of prices that you're charging. What are your thoughts on this as a business model? Because I guess you're sort of heading up to a couple of thousand members. You know, you're paying the price, but I guess you've not had to make the massive investment in building a facility and all that, you know, the value that goes into that. You know, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's a very different model, isn't it? I think the industry as a you know, in terms of bricks and mortar industry, has changed dramatically since I was involved, and the low cost gyms didn't exist. And what will be very interesting to see is that when we come down of lockdown, how those different parts of that industry, you know, rebuild their market share. You know, they're all a long way down from their peak memberships, and it's about how they regrow that. I have no evidence, but I suspect a large proportion of Talilla's members were not originally or were not club members. So I think there's a good opportunity to keep them rather than see them disappear back to clubs. But I think the thing that we've been talking about more and more recently is about a longer term plan. I mean, at the moment, yeah, it's great. Make easy money. You know, it's low cost. So you're online. It's, you know, there's no overheads, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to have this as a long-term proposition, you have to invest. And that's why Talilla's taken on some new trainers. She's bringing on some more people into the team, investing in a better platform. And I think it's about actually investing in people and technology rather than investing in bricks and mortar that will help this business grow. I mean, you know, we talk about, we occasionally sky blue about where this could go, and it's just limitless. But it's about how we grow it, or how Talilla grows it, you know, brick by brick, and investing money and time in those areas that add to the community and add to the value. So you know, it's very, very early days for this industry, this new industry, shall we say, within the fitness industry. And I think those that will survive are those that actually want to be here in 2, 3, 4 years' time and invest money now rather than just take the quick profit. And that's what we've been talking about a lot about, is, you know, let's do that.
Yeah. I understand you've got quite a spread. From what I read, you've got members from about 40 different countries. Is that correct? So it's not a UK business anymore.
Yeah, there's 50 countries now, actually. And I remember when we first went live as well, we were tracking where people obviously were coming from, traffic, and it was popping up all over. And I think that's what's crazy, the reach these things can have. And again, we haven't done any paid advertising or anything. It's all just been through my platform on Instagram. Some of my friends in the industry who have shared and been part of it as well, been members themselves and shared. And that kind of reach is incredible, and reaching parts of the world where I thought, you know, I don't even know, I've never been there. I don't know anyone there. It's mad. So that's been wonderful as well. And I think it helps. It removes that barrier to exercise, which I think can be a massive issue and really hard for a lot of people to get into it. But this, you literally just, as long as you have Wi-Fi, your screen comes up, I'm there shouting at you, telling you to do therapies all day long, you know, you can join in. And that's what I think is really wonderful. And you can connect with other people in your area. And what we want to do is really nurture those communities around the world. And at some point to be able to, go somewhere, visit them, do a live session and, world tour 2022 incoming.
And the background, actually.
Yeah, Dad will be there because they love him. They know him. He's got a nickname. I won't share on here. It's a bit embarrassing. But he is he's a favourite, and they are always waiting. But I mean, we did a workout back. Was it Father's Day?
It's Father's Day, yeah.
On Instagram, and everybody loved it. He got a full kit sent from New Balance. He was kitted out. I mean, it was pretty special.
A one day ambassadorial role, unpaid, full kitted out.
And we've heard about it every day since. Shut up about it.
I think just picking up on that, what's interesting as well is just seeing more and more members being prepared to show themselves. And there's members who've been members since day one, who are just beginning to post things on.
Yeah. They're
just getting that confidence that they will put something on there that, shows who they are. And I think they've been, they've naturally been reticent before, but the community spirit is so strong. They now feel they're able and wanting to share their journey with the rest of the community, which again is incredibly powerful.
That's true, because at the start you were quite shocked by how much everyone was sharing, weren't you?
Yeah.
Because it is pretty, and again, there's probably...
Some of them.
I'd say we have about 10 guys in the group. The rest are women. So it's a very open, vulnerable environment where people can just share whatever they want. And like Dad said, there's some people now who are really being able to have their voice, which again is so incredible to be able to have a platform that enables that, because usually in your normal gym, and what I found in London, which I wanted to move away from, is that it can be very elitist, and again, especially in the boutique gym world, when the price is slightly higher for classes, it can be about how you look, and it's intimidating. You're there in your full Lululemon outfit, and it's difficult. Whereas now, my women can train in their living room, wearing their pajamas if they wanted to, hair in a sweaty bun, and they just feel great. And there's no barrier, again, like I said, and then also not going to the gym and there's these big meatheads staring at them, which is also an issue still. So yeah.
And they also involve the family. I mean, was it Halloween, Halloween night? We did you did a competition for the breast pumpkin.
That was your idea. Yeah.
And suddenly we got 20 or 30 posts of people with their pumpkins, and kids are drawing them and everything. And that's just game. It's just part of a community and part of fun. So we even get sometimes kids joining in with their mums.
Kids and dogs are regular.
Kids and dogs are big.
Attendance. Yeah.
Have you had to choose or not, maybe not choose, but have you had to sort of narrow down on a kind of a particular demographic? Like I know in some of the communications you talk about, it's not about what you look like, it's about what you can do. I may have got that a little bit wrong, but are you kind of going for a particular person, like maybe that's not going to go to those gyms, or have you narrowed it down even further where you're sort of more female, or is this still to be figured out as you get more data back from who's joining the workouts?
Yeah, I think it definitely is predominantly female, and I think that is because at the moment, like I said, we're not doing any external marketing. It's all paid marketing. It's all kind of me communicating it. So I think it's the energy you put out as energy you attract, right? And I think I connect with women, daily on Instagram. So I think that's how it's connected with them. I think in terms of their approach to fitness, it's definitely, like I said, we're not here to be destroying our bodies every day and doing ridiculous sessions 5 times a week. It's about people, I think, who have done that, realize it didn't work, and now want to be able to approach it in a more sustainable way. And we have a lot of mums who are in the group, and we get comments about this in posts all the time saying how they want to set a better example for their children. Like, they went through hating their body for so many years, really punishing themselves with food and over exercising, and now they're like, I need to be better for my children, and to not, because diet culture is still rife in the industry, and people, all these ridiculous diet plans and body ideals. I mean, I could talk about this all day long, so I won't go off on one, but it's an opportunity to stand against that. And I think the women in my group now want to stand against that, want to teach their children that, and that's, I think, the kind of community that's growing. Again, I'm so open to anyone is welcome. There is no, you have to fit a certain type to be able to come to the club. Absolutely not. That's a point I want it to be completely inclusive. But that seems to be the kind of type at the moment.
And I think also probably in terms of going back to your point about data, the club's 7 months old, 6 months, 7 months old. It's still early days, and that's something we've been talking about, is collecting more data. How do we do that, and how do and not use it for the benefit of the community?
Yeah.
And what more information can Talilla bring to the community and bring to the club that adds value to it? Because I think it's a bit. It goes back to that. Talking about a sporter. You join the club for the club, not just for the fitness. And the more that Talilla can grow the lifestyle, the added values and everything else, the more it becomes a proper club rather than just a early morning workout.
Yeah. What part do you think social media plays outside of the workouts? Because last few days I've been following your stories, and I think you do a fantastic job. And I know how much work it is to put that stuff together, and you really sort of engage with people. There's some fun in there. There's some serious stuff. So it's really quite a skill. But I think you do a fantastic job on that. How important is that? And two, as you try and scale, do you think that that's something that you can do with other people outside of yourself, for example, to continue to build that brand?
Yeah. So I think it's hugely, hugely important for Club 5. And I think the reason being, my concept and the club is kind of built on this social proof economy. Like when, Susan down the road posts about Club 5, her next door neighbor is also going to want to join, because there's that trust. And, there's whenever we reshare all of the stories, and we get not every single member, but a lot of members will be sharing their workout, their sweaty selfies. It's this constant kind of, user generated content, which for me is the most valuable kind of content. Forget paid marketing or any of that, that will come. But this right now is incredibly valuable, because, it's just trusting your peers, which is what most brands now need to be looking at in order to grow. So yeah, it's a really important part. And I think each member uses it in different ways. You don't have to be part of, social media to join. Like it's not a requirement, but I think it's helpful for the rest of the world to see when we post that, we're in different countries across the world. It enables other people to be like, okay, I can join, and it just gives that kind of visibility and that awareness. So it's been really helpful. It's important for sure. Yeah.
You've built a pretty decent following by most people's standards. What's been critical to building that, and what have you found out about what your, I guess, community wants from that journey?
Yeah, it's been a long journey, and I started it a long time ago on Instagram. Just again giving fitness content to people, free of charge, just trying to get them active and healthy. How many
years have you been going on your Instagram, just out of interest?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 4. Oh, yeah. It's just part of my everyday life now, It's just, I'm not quite sure how long. And I've definitely seen a lot of growth in 2020 during lockdown, because I was just doing these daily live workouts. And what I did was also team up with other fitness professionals. So I had, others with large followings reaching out to me and saying, can we do a live session? Because I think naturally the energy I can bring in each workout, which is fueled by about 10 coffees, so no wonder, it helps bounce off each other. And, people really love to follow the journey. And one of my good friends, Anna, we were doing Friday Club every Friday, and everyone was tuning in. We had, nearly 1,000 people every day tuning in live to do those sessions. And so that helped, collaborating with industry professionals. And I'm never one to shy away from that, in the worry that it's competition, because to me it's just so important. And that's really helped my community, again, trust me more, because it's coming from another trusted source. So yeah, it's been a quick growth recently. But again, I think it's because I'm just putting out content that, to be honest, is pretty raw, maybe too honest sometimes. Poor dad, living within another very intense topic. But for me, it's important. If I don't share that stuff, it's never going to be normalized, and it needs to be. We're not here to see a highlight reel. We're here to see the real deal. And that comes in the highs and the lows. And we've had a lot of them in the last year and a half. So I think it's only right we all share them and don't pretend it's all happy all the time. So I think that honesty has helped as well, help people trust and want to be part of that conversation.
It's been quite interesting. I occasionally dip in and dip out just to listen what's going on. And can you believe I managed once to dip in, just as you're talking about me and our family and our relationship. Cool. I listened to it and then dipped out again quickly.
It wasn't negative, was it?
It was challenging. It wasn't negative. You were just being really honest about how you felt about things. And I was going, It made us talk after.
Yeah.
It made us have a chat after.
I mean, that's
which
true.
You wouldn't have done.
We've had some really good conversations, very raw and open and honest, and we never would have done that, I don't think, just naturally the way we both are. We'd try and avoid it, and we couldn't avoid it now because it's elephant in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's been really good, and I am so grateful for those kind of conversations.
Yeah, they're important.
Yeah, I think it's something, you're obviously a very, small startup going up against some huge players, including a lot of the traditional health club industry that are doing virtual stuff. And I suppose in a way that it's an opportunity for the sort of underdog or the smaller operator to be able to do that. Because I can only imagine if we said to you, Patrick, in your Sporter days, look, we want our trainers to be sort of opening up and telling people how they feel. Probably the amount of red tape you've had to gone through would have been enormous, I guess, wouldn't it?
It'd have been very interesting. But I think also it was just a different community then in terms of how we approached fitness, and what the and we didn't really think about the challenges of people's mental approach to things or how they felt about their bodies or all those different things. That those conversations just didn't happen. So we didn't really ever have those conversations about about how members might feel about things. I can give you one example. I remember we launched in the Royal Berkshire Club, and I was probably in my mid-30s, and we thought we need to launch an over 50s club. Over 50s club. So we called it the Silver Bullets. And the stick we got from these members saying, what gives you the right to define me as being old at 50? And I'm going, oh, and then now, I mean, now I go, hang on a minute, I'm a lot older than 50. But it was just that perception that we just didn't think. When we were trying to create a little club within the club for the over 50s, but actually we should have probably made it over 65. But for some reason, in our mental state, we thought 50s are getting pretty old. So we'll start a club for 50 plus. And honestly, I got so much stick for that. And rightly so. So it's just, the world's completely different. I mean, I think, if we look back and we talk about occasionally about generations and generations' ability to talk about things. My mother's generation, stiff upper lip, don't ever say, complain, everything's fine. And it's not. I'm sort of maybe a bit more mellowed from then. And you've got Talilla's community who talk about everything. and I look at it sometimes thinking, is that a bit too much? But it's the world's changed.
Yeah, I think like mental health is such an important topic now, and it's just a part of a lot of brands' communication anyway. And I know that when my members connect with their kind of mental why and how they feel rather than, again, the aesthetics, that's when the changes happen. That's when they stay on for longer, because they are seeing, it's so much more about the journey mentally than just physically, and that's really important. I think a lot of, again, the industry still forgets that, and I think that's where it's changed, and we can really give a much more holistic approach to the members in that sense by offering the chance to talk about these things, and that's why, again, one of the pillars is mind, because without, it's the same as training your body, you have to train your mind. It's exactly the same. It's a muscle, right? So it's one of the most important things about the club as well.
Do you think that some of that is to do with now that the world we're in today requires, people are after a lot more personalization in terms of the messaging? Because I guess you mentioned you as a 30-year-old in the club trying to do a marketing for 50-year-olds, and obviously you weren't there, so it's difficult to get it. And I guess, Talilla, you were One Rebel as an example, which I guess were the first type of people in the group, first type of business model within the fitness industry that really narrowed down on a single modality, and also really narrowed down on a particular demographic. Do you think, now that we are moving into a world where, you've got to really be in touch with your audience and understand what's on their mind at the moment, and how to sort of communicate on a much deeper level rather than trying to sort of be this all things to all people, where you're trying to anticipate what's important to them but not doing a great job?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I maybe take it to the extreme, but I will voice note back every single person that sends a message to me, which is a lot of people every single day. But I want to send that personalized response back. I want them to know I'm listening, I'm hearing them. We send out, and it's not just like a survey where we ask for general feedback. I want to know the nitty gritty, what the bad things are good. We are so open to that conversation. And I think, unless you're hitting those pain points, you're not going to get an emotional attachment to you as a person or as a brand. I think that is so important. We're so fickle. My generation in particular, we're just, we move on to the next thing, instant gratification constantly. And actually, like, if we can create a emotional pull and a connection and understanding, that's when I think the connection's made, and people will see this as a lifestyle, not just, again, a quick fix.
In terms of that retention, Patrick, when you were, sort of in this sort of full time, what did you find was really important to get people, not just bring them in and keep them for a while, but keep people over a longer period of time? And can you sort of relate that to what's going on in Club 5?
I think, in terms of the industry when I was there, I'm being very honest, because it was new. I think retention was relatively easier than it probably is now, with much more competition. But again, I think it was, we had a 70% retention of members, which, was hard. But I think because the club was more than just a club, more than just a fitness facility, we had so much else going on. The social programming was massive. The programming for children was massive, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we tried to create this one-stop shop for both the individuals and for the family. And interesting enough, because it was when we did it, was that the pubs were becoming less popular, and there was a place where do people meet up who are single. And one thing we found was that the bar, quite often in the evenings after general workouts at 9 o'clock, was just rammed with people, mostly singles, who were meeting up socially. So we created that sort of opportunity to socialize beyond just do your sport or your fitness. I think the challenge today is the competition is obviously much, much bigger. Time is even more challenging for people. The attrition levels in the low cost gyms is massive, the turnover, but they're just churning. And they have their own challenges of how do they try and create that community. But with that model being a low staff model, it becomes very difficult. How do you connect with the community? And I think that's why, this goes back to what we began the conversation. It's about the community aspect is really, really important. And I think, we have a constant conversation and talk about, we can have this number of members, whatever it may be. And Talilla's saying, hang on a minute, A, it's just my club. And B, how do I retain that core value that I'm not prepared to give up? So we're now having those conversations about, okay, what does that mean? How can Talilla still manage somehow to connect with members as much as she wants to, and grow the business? And it may well be the business doesn't grow a lot further than it is, but it actually delivers a fantastic service to its members, and achieves what Talilla wants to achieve on her journey. It doesn't have to be 10, 20, 30,000 membership club if that's not what she wants. And if you do that, you then have a big challenge of how do you keep that community going. So sometimes small is beautiful.
Yeah. So what lessons have you learned that's worth sharing? Because I guess there's a lot of business, I guess this is traditional business growth. You have some success, you get to a level, and then it's like you're either going to continue or you kind of go back down again. And as we know, a lot of businesses fail, particularly in this climate. Putting industries aside, and I understand you've invested in many different businesses. What would you say are some of the sort of those key decisions that you need to make to be able to decide, well, look, where do you go from here? You gave an example here about, growing it into a huge business or staying as a small one and just doing a great job and being probably very profitable and not having a lot of stress. But are there any sort of key things as you're a new startup and you're going through that growth phase that you probably want to spend some time thinking about, or key questions that you should ask yourselves?
You asking me that, or you? Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't claim to. When I left the Sporter and we did the traveling, came back, I had a sort of fundamental, what do I do with my life now? Because my journey had always been around sport, whether it been running sports centers for local authorities or working on golf resorts. It'd always been sports related. And that's something, what do I do now? And am I a one-trick pony? But what I have discovered is the fundamentals are, no matter what industry you're in, the fundamentals are exactly the same. And you need to have the energy, you've got to have the passion to want to do what you're trying to do. You've got to have the right people around you who are on the same journey as you. I think too often there's a danger you carry dead wood. And as you grow, sometimes you have to let go of good people because they're not able to grow with you any further than you need them to grow. That's a challenge in itself. You've got to be able to, and I think this latest sort of year has really shown it, is the ability to swivel, to adapt, because life never is a straight line, and there's always going to be challenges. And I think it's about seeing that challenge as an opportunity rather than as a it's fatal sort of thing. And I think I've really enjoyed seeing the businesses I've been involved with, and some of them, have really adapted and done really well, and some haven't done so well. But it's those ones that are able to do that, and then there's these usual fundamentals about, management of your cash and all those that I call them boring things, but incredibly important. Because and Talilla hates even more than I do. But those are fundamental business, managing your numbers, managing your information, and use that information to make decisions is absolutely critical. But it's about having passion. It's about having, ability to adapt. It's about having the right people around you. And it's also, I think, one thing I learned, and I probably wasn't very good at earlier on, is asking people who've done it, or asking people who have failed, and, opening up to other ideas. And I think probably when I was on my journey, I knew I was going, and I probably didn't listen enough. Now, luckily enough, I was okay. I did okay, but I think I would have probably could have done better and given a better service to my members if I'd actually done a bit more listening, and a little bit less dictating, shall we say. We talked to some of my experts.
Wait, that reminds me of your Instagram post there. Yeah. Well, so what about businesses that are about to be disrupted? Like, it's a strange time, because I guess 2020, if COVID wasn't there, we were seeing a lot of traditional business models. We'll stick to the health and fitness market because it's easier, but we were seeing a lot of models being disrupted anyway. We had the low cost, we had the budgets, we had the mid-market changing. There was a lot going on. And then now with COVID coming along, that sort of, increased probably the speed of some of those changes. In your experience, when you sort of see an industry or a model that you can kind of predict is going to be disrupted by something else, what are some of the things that you've seen people that have successfully navigated around that doing? Is it a case of they have to sort of quickly get together and think, well, do we jump on this new model? Because one of the things that I've certainly heard a lot in podcasts and on panels is people are going from traditional clubs diving into becoming a digital business, which I think even this conversation today shows how different it is from a traditional business. You've got to have people with different skills. It's a different mindset. The community is very, very different. So it may be difficult for a business to probably compete with someone like yourself. But I know it as something that a lot of people are considering at the moment, as gyms can't open. But are there any things that you've found as being, because there's probably a lot of people listening that are in this position, that you found that can kind of help you get through when there's going to be a big shift or there's a recession, which I'm sure you've been through a few? What can you do? What are some of the lessons that are worth sharing there?
Work harder. I mean, if I remember rightly, I think within the first 3 months of us opening the Royal Berkshire Club, we had interest rates of 15%, and that wasn't in our business model. So these challenges always come along. You have to believe in yourself. I mean, I think there'll always be adaptations. And I'm just reading. You look at retail, look at the retail market, what's happened to that, and those that have moved online and those who chose not to, and how that's affected their journeys and everything else. And it's about experimentation. It's about trying new things. It all depends on what finances you've got and what you can afford to do. But it's opening up your eyes to what there's out there. And I'm coming, I believe, towards the end of my value, just because the world has changed so much since I began my journey. And all I try and do now is give a little bit of advice to Talilla. But it's scary. It's scary from my point of view to see, what I thought were there forever suddenly disappearing. But I've got a pub business I'm involved with, which is, hospitality has been absolutely hammered. But we've done very well. That's because the guys involved, who are in their 30s, have really engaged in delivery, click and collect, Deliveroo, all those different things. And actually, rather than say, oh, doom and gloom, they've gone out there. And we've actually managed, we've been helped by the government with furloughing some staff and all those different things. But as a team, they've worked their socks off. They've gone back into the kitchens. They've helped, they've done lots of different things. And I believe that business will flourish when we come out of it, partly because that business as a pub business is a community business. And we very much, our foundations were about being the community pub. And I think that's going to be even more valuable as people want to re-engage with each other. I think the journey, I'm quite old-fashioned. I don't like Zoom calls. I don't like all that stuff. I think that's the journey of Talilla's generation. But at the end of the day, they still need to communicate. They still need to meet people. They still need to see, laugh with people and hug people and all those different things. And I think it's very easy to go down digital route for everything and actually forget that we all do still need to be loved and wanted and strut around and be peacocks or whatever you want to be, something. But, have some fun. And I think that's one thing we shouldn't forget. So I think there are lots of opportunities that will appear. But I think one thing perhaps out of this we've learned is that the value of communities and the importance of talking to each other and being community. And it'd be nice to think that out of all this, people will be more caring and sharing. It may not happen, but hopefully there'll be a bit more of that.
Human connection.
Human connection, yeah.
Yeah, and this is sort of question to both of you then, because you've talked a lot about community and you've given an example of a pub business. And I know I've seen sort of coffee shops and restaurants do the same. But do you guys think then that the currency or the value is really, is in investing in that community? And then if you have to say, look, we're not going to be open for the next 12 months, but we will be one day, that if you've made that investment and maybe doing things differently in terms of community, then, whether you deliver that online or through a phone or through an app or eventually face to face, that's really where the value is going to be if you have to sort of do things differently for a while.
Yeah, if you talk about like your coffee shop example, a coffee's a coffee. At the end of the day, it's a coffee. And okay, there are better beans and better quality, but it's coffee. And it's about how do you serve that coffee? How do you make that person feel important when you walk into the environment? And I think it's very easy to do, the systems, have the system, you do this, but actually what you want is somebody who can actually smile and say hello and have a word. And, and that's, those are really invaluable, important things. And I think when any of us go anywhere, whether it be a restaurant or a shop or a coffee shop or whatever it might be, and we meet somebody who actually wants to engage with us, we feel special, we feel important. And the challenge I have with Talilla's generation is the danger of them losing that, because they spend all their time doing this and communicating that way, and actually they lose the nuances of actually relationships, which is really, really important. And I think I hope and I think that will swing back to, especially because of lockdown, people wanting more personal connection.
Yeah, I think as well with community, side note from that last bit, but they're also they're your sub brands, and I'm noticing that with my community, that they are really essential parts of the brand, and represent different parts of the brand, and that is so incredible. I mean, rather than just having one brand, you've got multiple brands underneath your brand, and that's really important. And I think also loyalty. When I was doing the sessions every single day, and not asking for anything, just turning up for months and months and months, and then when I said, look, can you guys support back? And when I launched Club 5, the support was overwhelming. I didn't think they would. That there's that kind of feeling where it won't be returned, but because I think when you offer so much to someone and you really show them you care and that loyalty is instilled, then it becomes such a connection. And that's, again, the community, which I think a lot of people don't realize. You have to give so much in order to get that back. People just expect in this day and age to get customers. Well, why?
The point your father made about people, I suppose in his generation, maybe even mine, actually meeting and talking, is there a big difference nowadays? And I can only see my children, how they prefer to communicate. Is that just, that's how people communicate, and that's probably just as good as seeing somebody in face to face, and so you've got to be able to sort of find a way of having those deep relationships virtually, if as well as face to face, because it seems as though that was happening prior to COVID anyway. Particularly a lot of these influencers have been very successful. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's tough. I think there are benefits to both. I personally love human connection. My idea originally was to do retreats. One-to-one for me is crucial for really digging deep, and it's important. However, I do feel a lot of people aren't able to communicate, and whether that's due to technology advancements or just, again, childhood, upbringing, all of those things, aren't able to. So this gives them this kind of, I guess, protective screen, and then they're able to be vulnerable and raw. And that for some people is incredible. And actually, if technology and social media allows that, then I'm all for it. I think it's incredible. I think there is a balance when it can become obsessive. And I've caught myself in it where you just, you are, and at the very start of my journey, it was more of a validation journey. And that's why I'm so hot on the mindset stuff, because you can't get trapped in this fake world. It's not real half the time. And that's the thing where I'm trying to break down those barriers with it. But it can be extremely addictive. And, you get in that dopamine hit when you have someone engaging with your content, and, you make a new connection online. And I think it's such a fine line. But as long as you're checking yourself daily with it, I think it's fine. It's just with business, obviously, it's very important to maintain the human connection as well. So if you with the fitness world, if you can do retreats and meetups when everything's over, then amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think some of the conversations that, even some of the things you have probably would be difficult if you did it in a group where there was 30 people, because I doubt anybody would even acknowledge that I'm one of those people. But on the screen, it's like, it's like, yeah, okay. You almost feel as though there's a little bit of one-on-one privacy, I'm not the only person that's like this kind of thing, but you wouldn't want your friends or your mates or whatever to know that's you either. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know.
I've experienced my own little high. I've got, is it 15 followers on Instagram?
Yes.
15 followers. And the reason why I've got that many is because when we did the Father's Day workout, I suddenly gained 10 more. And suddenly I got all these likes. And I think, suddenly it didn't last very long, but I had a bit of a buzz for about 3 days. I was suddenly getting very popular with 15 followers. There you go. I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Well, we did Google you to try and find some information, and we kind of got down to about 3 lines, and that was it. So your daughter was obviously a lot more interesting for us to research.
Taking his red, yeah, absolutely.
So look, just before we wrap up, then couple of quick questions. Then, so what do you guys think? End of this year, what are some of the trends? You guys have been involved in a number of businesses, and very in touch with your marketing, and building businesses in the fitness sector, and you obviously know a lot about it. What would be some of your predictions in terms of some of the trends or some of the brands that are likely to be strong, coming out of this crazy period we've gone through?
I have absolutely no idea. The problem is that I think, to a degree, it's going to be, there's lots of different facets in there, in terms of, if you look at the support the government's given to the industry versus other industries or furlough may be. And there's a lot of businesses out there who are struggling. They're going to struggle. It's going to take a long time to rebuild. And the one thing nobody knows, nobody can predict, is how will membership rebound. And I think that's the critical thing for the industry is, most clubs are 30% or whatever the figure might be. I think the average is about 30% and more with the boutique businesses. How quickly can they rebuild their membership numbers? Because that 30% for most businesses will be their profit.
Right.
So, it's about, it's not only just about paying back all the additional debt they may have got or the loans they've taken out or whatever it may be. It's how can they get back into a profitable situation? So it's really, really challenging. I think that some of the big companies who are, raised quite a bit of money during this time are going to be able to survive. It's the smaller ones that I think are going to have their challenges and how financially strong they might be. So I wouldn't want to predict. I think there'll be some changes, and I think there'll be some fallout. But like with any recession or any fallout, there'll be new things that come along. This is Talilla as an example. There'll be new clubs that come along which are different and more innovative and different, and there'll be a rebuild. It won't be like it is now. That it'll be different, but how different it'll be, I think, very much depends on resources, finance, ideas, and how people return to fitness. Will they make a decision that actually they rather cycle, they rather go walking, they rather spend time with their children rather than going to the, who knows? It's too early to predict.
And Talilla, what are your thoughts?
In terms of the gym industry, I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited, nervous. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think a lot of people that I've spoken to, members, professionals, people are more comfortable in their own environment training now. I'm not just saying that because my business is built on that, but people are comfortable because, again, like I said, they're not feeling there's any judgment. And I think if there's a way to kind of embody that confidence that people are having in themselves, or that kind of judgment-free zone, but also introduce connectivity somehow in real time, that would be incredible. I think the digital world is obviously fantastic and it's helped me reach so many people and it helps everyone connect. But again, that human connection, as we were saying, is so important. So I think if there is any route it will go is to try and nurture that human connection and get people comfortable again interacting, because I know a lot of people are anxious about that and it's a weird time to be interacting with each other. If we can nurture that, but also the community, listening to the customer and make people feel comfortable in their environment, I think there's something there. It's brewing. I can feel something brewing, but who knows what will happen. It's so kind of volatile at the moment with gyms open, closing constantly.
What will be interesting, and obviously information is not there yet, is we talk about how much of the population works out is 10% or 12, or whatever the figures are. I don't know what they are anymore. But what is that? But actually, can we now begin to find out what the online community of fitness is, what those numbers are? Could that add to the overall fitness world, and how that will impact or not impact on membership clubs with physical clubs rather than online clubs? And then I suppose one of the challenges for those clubs is that I think the low cost gym product is a brilliant product. It's brilliant if you want to go in there and work out. But that's all it is, and it's great facilities, high quality. Whether they, as an industry or as part of the industry, will now think about how they invest more money in their technology, in their reaching their members, and how they create their communities. Because one of the challenges, and I had an investment in a low cost gym business, and the turnover was really, really high, and it just was about getting numbers, every month just churning numbers. And, we tried to do something about that, but it was very, very difficult to impact the churn. Maybe now with technology and the way the market has moved, there will be more investment in those areas that will help their retention. Or maybe they will simply see that model still works quite well, thank you very much, not having to provide more than just a very, very nice facility with great equipment. And the staff are in there that are good, but actually there are not many of them.
I think as well, what I've seen as well is that I think a lot of people, especially maybe previously, I'm not sure if this is true, but previously have almost been told what to do in their fitness journey, go to this session, do that, do this workout, burn this many calories. What I'm finding is that our generation, or maybe again, certain people in the industry are empowering those people, and it's becoming their journey. They're becoming the educators. They're becoming the people that are leading their sub-community. And again, it's coming back to these sub-communities. So actually, I think if brands or companies can actually empower and give a voice to their community and help them become, like I say it to my members, to become, the person that can actually look after their body and their mind the best, and they won't need all this stuff in the future. That's the ultimate goal, I feel. If we can empower people in that way, I think that's important. Again, how that looks, I don't know, but I know there's something in that.
Yeah. And I think one of the sort of strap lines that Talilla has, which is you versus you. And I think that's a really powerful, simple strap line, that this isn't about how you look against somebody else, because everybody looks different. No matter how hard we try, we can't all, I can't be 6'2", unfortunately. I'd like to be.
You try so hard every day.
But it's never going to happen. Unfortunately, I'm shrinking rather than growing, but there we go. That's a factor of life. But I think that's a really important message that Talilla's had from day one, and the team, the members, the community have really, really engaged with, because they actually understand what they're trying to achieve, which is for them not about competition or comparative, should we say.
Well, if anything, that this has taught us that it's not about the quick fixes, because when you're really stuck in the really difficult times, you have to have, you have to look after your body, your mind, all these different things. And if you're not fully equipped, you're going to struggle. And I know I did at the start of the year, I was really struggling, and I set myself up, I made sure I had that community, I made sure I was looking after my body. I did all the work on my mind, and that has helped me. And I think people are realizing that life is really simple and you need to look after the fundamentals. And I think if you can provide a platform or product that does that, that's ultimately, you're onto a winner.
I think also the type of business you've got allows you to educate people. We've been in the industry, most of your life, I've been involved in it. I've been working out for 35 years. So we're around it all the time. And so really for us, there's no excuse not to know anything about it. But we all have days where it's tough to go in the gym. We have periods where it's a lot harder than others. And even people, that know what they're doing has this up and down period. So it's almost like, well, people who have never done that before, who don't like the gym, who are not confident in themselves, how are they feeling? And I suppose in a big business, they're probably not even going to have an opportunity to interact or to hear from a trainer, maybe a little bit, but yeah. It's very difficult if you've got 5,000 to 10,000 members doing it. So I suppose it almost seems as though it's gone full circle from the little church hall where you had this small community where everybody knew each other and they were supporting people on the journey. And I used to go to a circuit class when I was 16. And there was guys and girls that have been doing it for years. A guy called Dave used to run it, and it was all this old broken equipment in an aerobic studio. But people used to go there because it was the community thing. And I think maybe that's what has been lost. And I suppose, any new model, and it certainly hit hard with what you guys have said today, any new model that comes out of it is almost like, well, how can you get back to the roots of really, helping people mentally with what they're dealing with, giving them the motivation and holding them accountable to turn up. And the workout comes second almost, doesn't it? The great equipment and the beautiful building, but unless you're connecting with them personally, you're not really going to get very far.
Completely.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, it's really true.
And the world is much more competitive. And so, we built some beautiful clubs, but we had no competition. So as long as we were in the right places and we did the right marketing, people tended to join. Now that is no longer a given. You've got to do so much more now to succeed in a very competitive market with the clubs. And I think Talilla's market will get more competitive. So it's about how she stays ahead of the game with everything she's trying to do. And at the moment, it's going really, really well.
Great. So if anyone wants to find out more about your business, are you guys looking for investors or what? Where can people find you if they want to know more or get involved on some level? What would you like to share?
I'd like to hear if you're going to do one of our workouts, actually. Fancy joining a live session?
Yes, I will do. Yeah, just send me a message and we'll kind of I'll stick it on my page and we'll share it. Absolutely, I'm in. With you, as long as your dad's there as well.
Oh,
I'm always there.
Yeah, I mean, we are launching we're working on a new platform at the moment. So we're moving away from our current offering, and it's going to be focused on kind of enhancing the user experience and really ensuring this is the kind of one hub spot for all of your health and wellness needs. So we're working on that at the moment. And obviously we have so many ideas, and I've got walls and walls of, my visions and what I want to do. So we're available at weareclub5.co.uk. The Club 5 is a V, which is the 5 for the Roman numerals. And also on my Instagram, I talk a lot about it, and we have Instagram channel as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more this year and going out into different avenues rather than just the classes, like we're saying, looking at adventures and thinking about how we can train for goals that will make you feel epic after you've completed them. So yeah, lots coming.
I think the good thing about it, for Talilla's point of view, she doesn't need any money at the moment, because it's not a bricks and mortars business. I think having now proven it, and it's now so successful, it's now about, well, what does the next part of the journey look like? And we've only just started, really, haven't we? Just started shaping that with you.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to what Talilla wants it to look like from her perspective, and then we'll go from there. But
it's important to me that it just doesn't kind of get out of control. I keep thinking about this baby. It's this baby that's kind of grown overnight, and it's suddenly getting arms and legs, and it's getting really what an ugly little baby. And I'm thinking, how do I control this? So I just want to make sure it's comfortable for a while until, and then and then we'll look at external offerings. So yeah.
But when it comes to teenager, then it's gonna be a hassle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy little baby.
I've got that to look forward to in mine.
Good luck.
So final question, and we've got to do this a little bit differently, but the final question is that Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you've believed is impossible and gone on to make it possible. I want to do this question where there's one that relates to both of you. So in your sort of father-daughter entrepreneurial little journey, what would be an example of where you've both escaped your own personal limits?
Together or individually?
Yeah, together. In terms of the father-daughter dynamic, has there been any examples where you've had to do what you guys both didn't think was possible, but you kind of you did something together?
Listening to each other. I think that was going to be possible.
I think, ironically, we're quite similar characters.
We're so similar. And can't believe how similar.
And I thought I was big-headed until I met Talilla as an adult. No, I think I don't think it's anything we thought was impossible, but I think what has happened, and I think now I was very fortunate when I sold a Sporter, we took time with the kids and went traveling, and I always talk to friends about it, and I spent 27 months, 24 hours a day with my kids. Now, if I equate that to what that would have been if I'd been working, they'd have been 18 and 20 years old. So I got the same time with them that I got during that 27 months. So I was very fortunate to have had some really, really quality time with them. But as they go on their journeys, you naturally have to let go, and they find their own way. And I think what this, sadly, the pandemic has caused is for Talilla to come back home.
Sadly.
What it's allowed us to do is to do something together. It's not together, it's the wrong way. To do something where I can support. I've always wanted to try and help, but I'm very conscious that it's not my journey, and I think we've probably managed to do that. I think better than I probably hoped. I think
also, again, it comes down to failure, and I did, and I still do sometimes have that fear of failure. But I think what Dad's taught me is that you just got to go for it. And, whether it's blagging your way through it or, just pivoting constantly, that's what I always feel we're doing it, constantly being reactive, sometimes too reactive and not proactive enough, that we're putting in the foundations to stop that. But constantly pivoting and seeing the potential. And I think that's the thing, there hasn't been too much to almost overcome, because when you view it in that way, that there's no barriers, you're just going to keep plowing through. I think that really helps. And I was scared of failure. And I think that Dad's changed that attitude because it's so needed and so important. And, you know, when I haven't hit certain targets or when I've been disappointed in the way I've approached something, I've just had to learn from it. And that's been so incredible. And I've loved every second of learning on that journey and will continue to do so.
Fantastic. Well, look, thanks for your time. I admire what you guys have done. I hope that one day I manage to get that similar relationship with my daughter. I think you're in a wonderful position, Patrick, or both of you, most of the time, I'm sure.
I'm not sure she feels the same way sometimes.
That's right. Wonderful. So yeah, look, I wish you all the success in Club 5, and I'll definitely take you up on that workout. So you can send me an invitation, and I'll be there.
Excellent.
Love that.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.